Hey, I'm Timo Seppa, and you're listening to the first installment of Hockey Analytics with Timo Seppa. You might remember me from a number of years back when I was editor-in-chief of Hockey Prospectus. We put out 6 groundbreaking books on hockey analytics covering the 2009-10 through 2015-16 NHL seasons. Over the last 8 years, I've been on the inside at National Hockey League headquarters in New York City, where most recently I've been Senior Manager of Hockey Analytics. So now that I'm back on the outside as a member of the analytics media, I'd like to share some of my insights from over the years, both in hockey analytics and my perspectives from inside the league. So we've got a great question to kick off with here. Who's the greatest goal scorer of all time? Is it Alex Ovechkin with his 895 career goals, or is it Wayne Gretzky with his 894 career goals? Ovechkin obviously having passed Gretzky yesterday with his second period power play goal against the New York Islanders in a loss. Well, let's look at what kind of goal scorers they were. Obviously, Gretzky put up the greatest goal scoring seasons of all time as a young player in his early 20s. He had 92, 87, and 73 goal seasons. However, his last 40 goal season, 41 goals, was as a 29-year-old. Ovechkin never reached those heights. His top goal scoring season was 65, also as a young player, as a 22-year-old in 2007, 2008. Ovechkin did score 50-plus goals 9 times, though. And his last 40-goal season, of course, is this season. He's at 42 goals and counting, and that's as a 39-year-old. All right, so, goals to goals, obviously Ovechkin has passed Gretzky, but let's break that down a little bit more. So one of the things we can look at in comparing players for their careers is what the goal scoring environment was when they played. And there's a big difference, obviously. Gretzky played a majority of his career in the highest extended time goal scoring environment in NHL history. So when Gretzky played overall, the goal scoring was at 7 goals per game. Now that varied a bit through his career. For the first 14 seasons, it was 7.5. And for his final 6 seasons, it averaged 5.9. For Ovechkin, obviously, it's been less. I mean, there was the first season of his career, 2005, 2006, that was coming right out of the lockout. And power play opportunities were way up that season. So it's kind of an aberration season in that way. And the power play opportunities fueled goal scoring that season to the point where it was 6.2 goals per game that season. However, otherwise, for the first 12 seasons of Ovechkin's career, goal scoring averaged only 5.6 goals per game. Now, we're in a new high goal scoring era in the NHL since 2017, 2018. Not like Gretzky's glory days, but for the last 8 seasons of Ovechkin's career, goal scoring has been 6.1 goals per game. And that's not counting any shootout deciding goals. All right, so if we take that 7 goals per game and 5.8 goals per game and use that to modify or adjust Ovechkin's and Gretzky's goal scoring, you get Ovechkin with 935 goals and Gretzky with only 744 goals adjusted. So that makes Ovechkin the greatest goal scorer of all time by far, right? Well, let's look at how they get there. So Ovechkin, his bread and butter has been the power play. So Ovechkin, out of those goals, 325 have been on the power play. And Gretzky, he was no slouch on the power play, but he scored 204 power play goals. So let's call those power play goals a little bit easier to come by than at 5-on-5. On top of that, there's a little bit of a difference in empty net goals. So Ovechkin has had 65 empty net goals in his career versus 56 for Gretzky. And you probably know that in the modern NHL, coaches are willing to pull their goalie earlier and earlier. So the opportunity for empty net goals for all players is higher. Ovechkin has particularly really been piling it on with empty net goals the last 4 years of his career, where he has 26 empty net goals in the last 4 years. So that's been a big help for him. All right, so if you just take those numbers and you use them, and we do this kind of era adjustment again. So take away those easy power play goals, take away those easy empty net goals, and now you do an era adjustment. All right, like first, without the era adjustment, taking away the power play goals and the empty net goals, you get Ovechkin with 505 goals and Gretzky with 634 goals. Again, talking about just even strength, shorthanded, whatever. But if we make that era adjustment again, where Ovechkin has played in a less prolific goal scoring environment, you still end up pretty much on equal footing with Ovechkin with 525 adjusted goals and Gretzky with 528 adjusted goals. Taking away power play goals, taking away empty net goals, but adjusting for era. So pretty much even, and obviously Ovechkin isn't done. He's continuing to score. How have those guys gotten to those goal scoring totals? So Ovechkin has always been a volume shooter. His career shots to date are 6,852. Gretzky's only 5,088. And Ovechkin had a huge season back in 2008-2009 when he had 528 shots on goal in a season, kind of unheard of. And Gretzky's highest number was 370. That makes their shooting percentages different, obviously, with Ovechkin 12.1%, Gretzky 16.5%. But comparing those players, right? It's not just about goal scoring. Obviously, Gretzky was a much more complete offensive player, the consummate playmaker. So assist totals, Ovechkin 724, Gretzky 1,963, making for point totals of Gretzky with 2,857, Ovechkin with 1,619. And as far as point totals, it's kind of the opposite of what you're seeing with goal scoring, with Ovechkin scoring those goals late into his career. With point totals, Gretzky sustained those further into his career, where Ovechkin only had 4 seasons of 100 points, and his last one as a 24-year-old. Gretzky kept up those 100-point seasons, 15 of them, until he was a 34-year-old. And of course, the prolific offensive player that Gretzky was, he had 4 seasons of 200 points or more. Amazing. So one other thing we can throw in, and I realize that this is supposed to be an analytics podcast, and the thing you can say to make anybody out there upset is to bring in plus minus, which has been shown to be flawed in many ways. But one of the cases where plus minus actually does correlate to skill is when you look at career numbers. And so career numbers, Ovechkin is plus 62, Gretzky plus 520. So, that's not the end all be all as far as talking about a 200-foot game, but we don't have a lot of the fancy stats for Gretzky's era that we do now. And Ovechkin, anecdotally, he was maligned, especially going back 10 years ago, let's say, that he was not a good defensive player. He was not a good two-way player. So take that for what it is. But what's our wrap up here? Obviously, Ovechkin has the record, but he and Gretzky are two all-time prolific goal scorers that are on pretty equal footing. But obviously, and they are both great. Ovechkin, great goal scorer. Gretzky, great goal scorer. But who's the greatest of all time? Of course, it's Gretzky. Much more complete game. And there you have it. So thanks for joining us, and we will have to do this again sometime.